I've felt particularly sorry for mourners in these past few months, and not just because of the circumstances that might have surrounded their loved one's death, or that they didn't get to celebrate the kind of funeral they wanted, or they didn't have many of their family and friends around about them, but also because they couldn't get together afterwards for a cup of tea, some refreshments, a funeral dinner, or wake, as we often refer to it as. That wake is so important in our funeral rites. It allows us to debrief, to share some laughter and tears, and to also frankly talk about something else. The two disciples on the road to Emmaus are waking Jesus. They're having a wake. They're discussing afterwards everything that has happened. They're trying to debrief. And what a terrible set of events there have been. Not only have they lost someone close to them, someone they admired, but also someone they thought would be the Messiah, their Saviour. And it's worse than that, because according to their own faith, they have been told that the person that they admired and loved and followed was the worst of all possible criminals, executed because he was a blasphemer. Cursed be him who hangs on a tree. And as if things couldn't get any worse, not having the funeral they would like, having these terrible circumstances, they're told that the grave is empty. They're told that there's no one in the tomb. As far as they're concerned, the grave has been desecrated. What a dreadful set of events they have to come to terms with. Luke paints a very rustic scene on the road to Emmaus. We can almost sense that it's a lovely evening walk. The beauty of the scene, of course, hides the fact that there is such tragedy. But in the midst of this evening walk, a stranger comes up and joins the two disciples. Now, it could be that the disciples have just about had enough of talking about things between themselves, and they're happy to have a new audience, someone else that they can bounce these ideas off. Perhaps this stranger can make sense of things, even though he doesn't know what's been happening. And so Jesus joins them on their walk. They don't recognize him, of course, because they're too caught up in themselves. And I wonder what was going through their head as they shared their story. Would the stranger run away from them? Would the stranger think they were mad? Would the stranger be scandalized at what they had to say? But he seems to stick with them. And you can almost see that this man who joins them is sensitive to their loss. That sense of loss was what was preventing those disciples from recognizing Jesus. They were still thinking that somehow or another he was a dead body lying somewhere rather than a living Lord. And it was to take them some time before they recognized him, and they had to go through a process. They had to leave behind one way of relating to Jesus and finding a new way. They had to have their faith reinterpreted for them. They had to have things explained to them in a way that opened their eyes to a totally new way of thinking and relating to God himself. You and I have been through something of a crisis, something of a total disaster in the case of some people's lives. And we've come back to church, or at least we've started to come back, and we've tried to fit in with the new way of doing things, and we're at 6s and 7s, wearing masks, using hand sanitizer, having to book places. It has been difficult for everyone and impossible for some. But you and I have to find a way, not just of surviving, but of finding a whole new way of relating. If you and I are to play a part in helping the church to find a way forward, then like the disciples on the road to Emmaus, we will have to stop looking for Jesus in the old way and find a new way. We'll have to stop thinking of him as somehow back in the past, in those celebrations of liturgies and the church as it was, but as a living, risen Lord, walking with us, walking slightly ahead of us. I hope that you can join me on this journey, this progress that we will make, that in sharing our story And having that story listened to by Jesus himself, we will find a new way of relating to Christ and each other.